What's up, people? Back at you again. This is the one and only King Jacob with the Chatterbox with King Jacob, man, where we do it every Monday and Tuesday night, where we interview some of the most explosive people around the globe that's doing their thing, that's going to the next level, and that's making an impact on whatever career that they have chosen. So, none other today, I have a special guest. You know, uh, I'm gonna let him introduce himself so you, the audience, can get familiar with him. So take it away, my brother.
Absolutely, absolutely. I go by A-list. Reason I chose A-list because that is top of the top. That is a way of putting pressure on myself to be the best artist I possibly can be, the most original, and just to shoot really for the highest possible thing I can think of. And I think there's nothing more powerful than that than going over something you can't necessarily see, but that's what it is.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. So, um, I want to shout out to Oscar, for definitely linking it up and
Absolutely.
I had him on last week. He's a remarkable professional in the music industry. So learned a lot from him, man. He shared a lot with me. So I definitely, appreciate his journey for him making it possible for the up and coming indie artists that's really trying to get on, that's really taking their craft really seriously. So I definitely appreciate him. So, man, who is A list? You know, who is A-list, man? Like, with a name like A-list, that means that you're top tier on everything you do. And no matter what division someone put you in, that you're going to rise to the top and come out on top. So who is A-list?
Yeah, I think you gave me awesome entry to that right there. First of all, before I forget, shout out to Oscar, Fluent Records right here, Oscar Sanchez. Really don't know what I would be without him. For the belief he showed in me and just the constant persistence of just really making this dream come alive. I can't thank him enough, and I can't wait to see what we do further on. But who's A-list? I think you hit it right on the head, top tier. Before I even had music as a, I don't want to say main thing I'm doing, but taking it as far as I'm taking it right now. I am a tennis player. So at 5 years old, my mom took me out in Nashville, Tennessee. She didn't really play tennis herself, but she wanted me to play a different sport and be a part of a different world than normal black kids have the pleasure of being a part of. And having the sport of tennis, it's pretty rare. And so she believed in me. She brought me to a camp, all black camp, which is pretty rare as well. But they do a phenomenal job in Nashville, Tennessee. She got married, and we moved to South Carolina. Now the location was Columbia, but me playing tennis and her wanting me to really reach a whole different possible life that I could even think of at that age, especially. She found a place called Hilton Head in South Carolina, and it's a small island that's known for golf and tennis. She saw it, we visited. I had the pleasure of getting a full scholarship. I believe I'm still the youngest person to join that academy, being that young at 12 years old, 11 or 12, and having that opportunity. So I didn't even really get that at that point in time, but she was really, I guess, paving the way for me to, like I said, see a new life. And with that experience, I was able to join that academy. They paid for my tournaments. It's called Vandermeer, by the way. Shout out to them. And I was able to reach number one in my whole entire state, number three in the South. Now, what that is Georgia, that's North Carolina, South Carolina, that's Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and being my highest ranking, being number three ranked out of number three ranked person out of all those states with phenomenal tennis players, and being able to get top 20 in the whole nation. That's top tier right there, and that's the kind of work and mindset that I've been ingrained to have ever since even before music came along. So I just took that type of mindset and put it into my music and being working hard into my craft, my sound, and being a better singer, being a better writer, being a better artist. And if I'm not aiming to be top tier, I'm not sure what I would be doing. For me, that's just a waste of time.
Okay. So, um, tell me about the music journey and when it started.
Absolutely. So I would say I wrote my first song when I was 12 years old. Had a guitar in the house. But really, to start, I think music just runs in my blood. My mom's a singer herself. She sings more R&B, slow jams, and she's doing her thing internationally. She's won a couple awards herself, so shout out to her. She's Candace Woodson. And then my dad, actually, he played piano for Michael Jackson and learning about his whole entire experience on the Thriller tour. That's where he was really doing his thing. So just learning and hearing about all that. His name is Greg O'Quinn. He's made some. He's really known in the gospel world. He's made a song called "I Told the Storm," which is pretty popular for all my gospel fans out there. But I just love music all along. Even in high school, I did plays. Funny enough, being a part of the choir, just being a part of music was something I always wanted to do. And then when I hit college, I had the really just kind of growing up and getting more access to things. So I was able to buy a laptop, buy a studio, buy equipment so I could be more independent. And I was able to make a name for myself a little bit around school at EIU. That's where I got a tennis scholarship. But they also knew me for music over there. I would always be rapping. I would always host shows, do talent shows, open mics. And then after I graduated, I knew there was time for a change. If I believe in my music the way I say I do and claim to do and think in my head, I'm gonna have to make a major step. So moving from Illinois, a small town, to New York City with no really plan. I didn't really have a job lined up. I just know I needed to be here in order to have a chance to have my dream. And then I just hustled. I worked a couple jobs I didn't really enjoy, but I knew the main mission was I kept making music, I kept releasing things, but really I was lost. I didn't really have any direction what I was trying to do. Then I sent my demo tape to Fluent, Oscar Sanchez, and he heard a song called Jordan Year, which is really totally different from the music that I'm making now. It's more polished. Then meeting him, we've gone into this direction of being what an artist is supposed to do on the business side as well.
Okay, so let's rewind it back to EIU. Um, and that's located in the Illinois area.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Charleston in particular. It's more near Champaign, about 45 minutes out.
So that's about an hour from Chicago,
About 2 hours, two and a half.
but so closer to what we call what Springfield.
Right. Yes, sir. You got it. You got it.
Okay. So let's talk about your college experience when they really found out that you could sing, you could write, you could play. Like, so what was that experience for you like throughout college?
For me, I did everything. I mean, just I like to be as versatile as possible. I think that fits into my music as well. If you hear, I don't even care what song you pick going through my catalog, but I guarantee not one song will sound the exact same. So being versatile and having different skills has always been really super important to me. So being able to do tennis and have that world and have that network really, and then being able to have a whole different crowd, especially being like with my people, being in South Carolina, I didn't really get to enjoy my culture the way I wanted to, be around it enough the way I wanted to. So moving to Illinois, being around more people from Chicago and the people who look more like me, I jumped right on that because that's always been a lot to me. And being a part of the open mics, talent shows, hosting, just being really in the groove of being a performer, being an artist, being in character, if you want to call. So I really enjoy just having different lives, not just living one tennis life, and really being able to be me more. And tennis has been something I've trained to do, but when I'm able to perform on shows, host it, perform myself, and do music, open mics, that's more of who I am. So I'll jump on that anytime I can.
Okay. And so you also said that your mother is a very gifted singer, and your father he played on the Michael Jackson's Thriller tour.
Yes, sir.
And once you mention his name, cause I'm from that gospel realm. I grew up in the
Really?
church.
Wow.
Yeah, I grew up in the church, so I grew up in the Connie Hawkins area.
Okay.
Grew up in the Winans area. Grew up with the quartet groups like the Williams Brothers, the Camp Spirituals, Willie Banks and the Messengers. So I grew up in the area. So when you called that name, I knew exactly who you was talking about. And so with you having, parents, your mother's on the R&B blues side. Your father, he played the keys, and plus he's a incredible, you know, um, gospel professional.
Yeah.
And so with the things that you gathered from them, how did that prepare you early on for, your transition of becoming a singer, songwriter, and a musician?
Yeah, I learned different things on both sides. So I'll start off with on my dad's side. I think just the persistence and really being dedicated to your craft and really putting that in most cases, a lot of cases first. Then there's a lot of sacrifice I saw in him because in order to do what he did and do what he's done and accomplish everything he's accomplished, there's nothing less but hard work and dedication and hours put in to have that accomplished. And there's just no other way around it. So being that elite into your craft, that just shows a different type of discipline and a lot of respect on that side. Nothing less. Nothing less. On my mom's side, probably the most important thing for me personally sticking with it is just the fight to never give up. So no matter what age you're at, no matter when you started, no matter what state you're at presently, just to keep going on to make a new song, make a better song, to have that really perseverance within you to really stick to it and just to not quit. I mean, for me, that was half of the reason why I'm here right now. I didn't always have the answers. I didn't always know what to do. Let's say even a year and a half ago when COVID hit. Before that, before I even got connected with Oscar Sanchez, I didn't know what my next move was or what to do in particular. I just knew I just can't quit. That's the only way that I won't get to where I want to 100%. That's a fact. But if I stay in it, if I just stick to the grind of what I want, I know I at least have a chance to do that. So combining those two work ethics and um, positive sides on our parents' side, I think that's helped me a lot today.
Right, right. So, with the state of society that we see every day in the world that we live in, um, how is your music impactful to reach the masses on a different level?
That's super, super, super important. I say one way in particular when COVID hit and the time that George Floyd, um, that incident happened and this country was in a whole different sort of state, but nothing different but bringing back history, bringing back to present with the social issues that we still deal with today. I took that opportunity to not only go out in New York City while I was here, but to protest and fight for my people, go out really every day of the week to lead marches, or whether if that was not a march, but lead speaks on educating people on what black people go through every day, on just how this society needs to change in many ways, of how people of color are not done justicely time and time again. And so I not only put that into action in what I did and what I do continuously on the street and just to anybody I can reach out to, whether it's a big crowd or one on one. I put that
Mm.
exact scenario inside my music. I made a song called Oscar and I made a song called Black Pop. He produced it, and that's exactly about what today's world's going through. The first lyric is woke up, my mom's still crying. Can't give up today, but my people keep dying. And just kind of just put myself in that scenario of when I was out in the street, my mom she knew I was out there. She knew that I had a mission in mind. I wanted to fight. But I knew that deep down inside, of course, she was scared because she didn't want anything happening to me. And so I want people to also see a side that I can talk about things that are going on today and give you a side of me that you can understand, not just something like a pop radio record, but more than that.
Mm. Okay, okay. So, in in your opinion, man, how has that changed the music world as far as are singers and songwriters and hip hop artists getting more political consciousness about when they put music out to the masses, or how did you see it change from your peers on the music that they put out?
On a very I don't want to say alternative in, because that's a whole different word. Alternative can be considered pop too, depending on how well it goes chart wise. But on a very underground, I guess I'll use way. I think there was a lot of change. People put out stuff that meant something to them on topic, or they put out particular things. But I don't think on a mainstream peer-to-peer level that I saw much change at all. In fact, now thinking about it, I would say I'm pretty disappointed in that. What I've seen is quite the opposite. Still, I think a lot of artists these days, I'll say they go for the money, but they sacrifice an image or sacrifice topics that they know would get attention, not that it would actually be good for our community, but whatever that they know that would sell in that time. I think there might have been a time for a couple months where that might have been cooled down, but I think we're way past that point. The music that we're putting out today is nothing more than to get, nothing more. I don't want to say that. Not every artist is doing this, of course, but it's definitely very popular to go back what's trending and not caring about certain topics and almost selling yourself and your dignity and your own self-respect than to uh, you doing that to put out an image and hopefully get some attention and some clout.
Okay, okay, okay. So, um, how many records did you put out before you got with Oscar?
Oh man, I think I easily put out. I put out a whole entire album. That's about 15, 16 songs. It's called ALYST Summer Playlist. Then I released a few singles. Actually, I put out another mini album before that. It was about 7 songs and probably about 5 singles. So let's go with about 25 to 27 songs.
Okay, so out of those 25 to 27 songs, how many songs would you say could have had potential, or would you still use some of them to even chart to get Billboard charted? Do you think they still had their radio play potential?
I think some do. Absolutely. I can probably name you five right now. We actually used one of them. It's called Vibin'. That was the first single that we put out. And because I like to do a lot of different sounds, and that one in particular, that was a reggaeton beat. And so instead of having the hip hop and some more R&B, that was a Spanish vibe of a song. And so I definitely think we could use those, but the formula that Oscar and I've came up with and continue to make now, I think the quality is just so much different. I think if we were to put out a single from that time, the timing would have to be right, and we have to be strategic. But the sound that we have now is just very very unique, and it's completely original. So I'm not taking someone else's beat. We truly collaborate, and I think there's a lot of power in that, and especially putting it together. I think we're going to be looking at some good things pretty soon.
Okay, so what was those conversations like when you first had a chance to really vibe with Oscar? You know, when you were sending him tracks over, man. So what was the conversation like about you as an artist and about him as a music executive, and how did y'all create that balance?
Right, right. Well, I'll never forget our first conversation. I was working at a place in the city. I had just come out of school, so I was a technical recruiter. I was trying to help people who work with the coding JavaScript and just Java, just different types of software engineering codes. I was connecting them with basically our clients, but I hated the job completely. Really, all I would do is make songs and create lyrics while I was at work. I couldn't stand being there, but I used that time to still make music. So in that time, I'd been really busy. As soon as I would get off work, I would go back to record any chance that I got. That's kind of where these singles kind of came into play, me releasing those. But in that time, I was sending out my demo tape to Oscar. In that time, we were trying to figure out a time to talk through email, get in contact, and have a conversation. So probably about 7 o'clock on a Wednesday, I picked up the phone, I went down locally. He's probably still there. It's like 6th Avenue, say 42nd Street. Went down to a Chick-fil-A, wherever that's at, and had a conversation with Oscar. And he asked me what my goals were, about what he thought of my song, Jordan Year, the sample that I sent him, so we could have the conversation, and what his role was. And I remember to this day, I told him my goal is to win a Grammy, and that hasn't changed since. I think people who ask me what I want in music, it's always been the same exact thing, and that's a Grammy, because that is I mean, there's no really greater award than a Grammy in music. When you get a Grammy, that is, nobody can really tell you nothing after that, and that is something that no one can take away from you. That's top echelon, that's top tier, and
Mm-hmm.
that was my goal. And then he told me his job as and what he does, and
Mm-hmm.
teach me what it's like and how to move on the business side of things. You can't just be an artist, but you got to know how to move business wise and network with people, brand management, because I didn't really have a brand. But meeting him, he gave me a whole name, a whole brand, to a point where I'm now even verified on Instagram now, and it's super difficult to make that happen. But knowing, working with him, he's just kind of helped open these doors and lead me in a way I would have had no idea really where to go without his um, guidance.
Mm. So from you working with artists, what type of artists do Oscar look for? Like what woos Oscar when it can, not just you, but when it comes to an artist in general?
Right. I think nothing more than originality. We've talked so many times about artists that may sound like directly like an already well-known artist, but where do you go from there? You know, he was talking about just the lack of true talent that there is today, the lack of true originality that we have. A lot of artists, and there's so much music out, but a lot of the complaints I hear from a lot of people is just it just all sounds the same. It's just so saturated. So I think when he hears an artist that truly has a story as well, I think that's super important. Having a story behind them, maturity, being able to handle not criticism, but just the responsibilities of being an artist and what that comes with and what you have to do, and adding the original sound. I think all of that, when you put that together, especially you make a dope record, you see tremendous potential. It gets him excited to uh, create history.
Okay, okay. So if there's three artists, whether they're today artists, whether they're world renowned global artists, or whether they're old school artists, if it's three artists that you would say that you have been compared to, which would be your top three?
Oh man, that's tough. I'm gonna have to think really hard about this one because I'm not sure if I can name you two artists, sorry, one artist that I've been compared to multiple times. There hasn't really been an artist from really anyone that I've met ever to have named the artist like multiple times for me. But what I have heard is a little Chris Brown, which makes sense. He was actually part of the reason why I made my first hook. I think in that time when I was about 17, 18, he was the hottest thing out in that time. And his hooks and just his format of music was, the record shows for itself. He was killing the charts. But most
Right.
importantly, he was a great performer as well. So just learning how to make bridges and hooks based off a lot of Chris Brown songs definitely helped me out a lot starting out. So I have heard that one before. I've heard Ty Dolla Sign before.
Mm. Interesting, man. You know, it's funny to think about Ty Dolla Sign. A lot of people that really didn't listen, that just used to see his name,
hmm
a lot of people thought he was a rapper.
Right, right.
You know, but
Uh,
I told somebody this years ago, I was like, hey man, you know who he is, man. I like, cause the boy bad, man, and he gon' and,
yeah, he's tough.
and he gonna get on. He tough, man, and knowing that his pops was a bomb songwriter in the industry,
Uh,
so he always had that in him. So I can see Ty Dolla Sign, man, and that's pretty dope for your name to come up in the same statement as his name. You know what I mean? That says a lot. That says a lot. And as far as artists that you want to work with, who would you like to work with?
I would love to work with Pharrell. he always comes up. He's probably my first pick always because Pharrell is his. When you think of Pharrell, you think of just things that Pharrell could do. There's only one sound, Happy. I don't know anybody else that could have made Happy, not Pharrell. A lot of just the instruments and um, his melodies, his harmonies with the songs that he uses, his voice, other instruments. I love Timbaland as well. But just Pharrell in particular, I think if I had a chance to work with him, then I could even possibly create a more original sound that I could do just by myself. Just whatever his mind would do. Because I would already know it would be very, very different, but it wouldn't be something you heard before.
Okay, okay. When it comes to producers, man, I think when it comes to singers and stuff like that, man, I think, man, Teddy Riley
Mm.
just goes without saying, man. He's created a lot of heat for a lot of different people. Jodeci, Bobby Brown, Mary J. Blackstreet, Toto. The list goes on. And I think another person that has a pretty epic sound, man, is Jazzy Faye.
Jazzy Faye. Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I think he got an epic sound. And I also think, man, when it comes to production, man, I think Scott Storch's sound is epic. You
I
know what
was
I
just
mean?
saying that he has some records too. He's still going.
Yeah, yeah, still going, man. So yeah, that's good, man. So as far as in the bio that I seen, let's talk about this Jordan 23.
Okay.
Tell me more about that.
Okay. So that song was not even on my radar. It's just something that when I would play it for people, they would instantly bump to. And I think as an artist, you know certain songs that maybe you like personally, and that's something I kind of still deal with today. That songs that I really like, I feel like it's my best, doesn't necessarily translate over to my audience or the people who I show it to. But in this particular case, Jordan Year, it was a boogie type beat and offset, and it's a song that I'm really straight rapping over. I have a couple, I won't say melodic, but I'm definitely in tune
Mhm.
when it came to the hook. But I basically just start. I go in when I say my lines. It's a bit faster paced, so when I'm saying my lines, it's something like that. When I kind of that stereotypical pace. Then as soon as I finish that bar, I will come out with another one. So it's just a lot coming at you, and it's a head bumper at first. So, but it's not necessarily really a copy of Bite. Yeah, it's same, I guess, rhythm, the triplet flow, but I still put it
Right,
into and
right,
to him. It's pretty hype, and then I guess kind of got my foot in the door with that sound.
right. So, with that being said, man, that song, man, is it is it a song that you ever shot to the radio station, shot to different podcasts, or was it just something for the streets to feel?
You know what? That song for me, because it truly wasn't something that I wanted to represent me. It's not a song that I would have wanted to get popping. Now, of course, if that were the case, obviously I would never complain about it because that was the goal, but not necessarily the type of song that I would want to continue to do when people think of me as an artist. A-list. But I think that song was great for showing the potential of what I can do as an artist. That's what I liked about it. I didn't just stick with the same flow in that song. I was able to switch it up. I showed lyrical ability, but at the same time, I want you to know that I could hang with the mainstream type of sound and adapt, because I think being able to adapt in the music industry is probably the most important thing. You can be as talented as you want, but even Lil Wayne said on the podcast, being
Hmm.
able to really rock with the new generation of music. You may think it's trash, but to them it's music. It's on the charts. It's still music.
Yeah,
Able to embrace it, but still, be original. So that's
right,
really why Jordan Year comes in.
right. It's kind of all about blending in. So, if you can blend in and you can create some balance in your music where you can still rock with them, but keep it very authentic
For
on
sure.
staying true to yourself as an artist. I can dig that. Yeah, I definitely can dig that. Okay, so when it when it comes to working with Oscar in the studio, how is that magic?
Oh man, it's really I think the first producer I was able to work with, and we have a lot of reps. And I think to say that from the beginning when we made music that it was just perfect would be true and not so true. The first song we ever really made was Pure, it was Gold, and that record is that's it's a really really great record. It hits really all the boxes. It's a radio, but it still shows originality and it's new sounds. It's
Mhm.
pops, rapping, lyrics, and that was the first one that we ever made. And we made, I want to say, he thinks it's about 30, 40. I think we made about like 50, 60, maybe a bit more tracks than that. And then from there, I think it's magic because he was able to guide me in a way of making my best possible music. And with him giving me critiques of certain sound, there were certain songs I did that weren't so hot, but it was never a waste because he was able to give me feedback and why this particular sound sounded really good. This song is a single. Here's why, and he helped me really become a better song creator, songwriter, and just kind of composing music altogether.
But it's funny you say that because everything you write or everything you might record, it might not be good for the album, it might not be good for the EP, it might not be good for a single, but it may be good for a TV show, it may be good for a video game, it may be good to go in a documentary. That's why that music licensing is very important. And so I just want you to vibe with the artist for a little bit that may be watching, man. The business side of artistry, of a musician, of a artist. What do you want to say about the business side, about the royalties, about, the registrations, about the clearing the samples and, all of the above. So what do you want to tell your fellow independent artists?
Yeah, well, it's a business, and if you want to make it, I don't want to say big time, but make it through in general. I mean, there's a lot of things you can't even post a song on SoundCloud or Spotify if it's not licensed. If you don't have rights to the beat, you can't put it on there. You may could do it for a little bit, but let's say it does go off, then you got to take that right back down because you don't have any rights to this particular beat. So being able to really have education and knowledge on the business side is important. Knowledge is truly, truly power. When it comes to like the royalties and the licensing, I mean, you gotta know where you want in your career path. I mean, if you just want to get signed, you don't really care about owning things for the long run. I mean, that's what you want, and all power to you. But just know that if you do this blindly, that the record labels do not have your best interest at all. I mean, if you don't know by now, I mean, there have been so many cases where labels have taken, man, I mean, 90%, and the artist only gets 10, and maybe that's even generous sometimes. So if you want to, be independent, or possibly independent, or just have more say so in the music that you create yourself, and not give that all away to a record deal just because it may sound nice or the money is there. Then you just have to know what you're getting into and not just sign something, get into something because
Right.
it sounds good. So we brought up about sounds good for a TV show licensing, and I think it's important that they know that's an option. I mean, I didn't even always put that together that you could send a song to a TV show or movie commercial, but just there's just so many options when you make music and where things can go, and having knowledge of that is important because you just never know.
Okay. 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 Yeah, for sure. So, um, let's talk about artist management. How important is artist management to a person that's trying to further their career in the music industry?
It's huge. It's huge because it's something that I've learned that can't just be still and can't just be stable. There's always you gotta always move. You gotta always look like you're moving. So artist management is just about the constant progression. You know, what next steps are you taking as an artist? Are you staying the same? Like what? There's always got to be something new that you're doing. And to this day, that Oscar is really, really good about always putting that inside my head. That like, what's the next thing? And there's always got to be moves. Whether that's the next press or next video, there's always got to be something that you're doing because I mean, it's easy just to leave your audience or your fans' minds because there's just so much out there. So you always got to build. It's all about building constantly.
Right, right, right. So, um, just because we just talking to the independent artists now. So, how important is it to work with a publicist or a PR firm? And um, what is the value that you would tell people uh, about branding, marketing, publicity? What does that mean to you as an artist? And do you hold people who specialize in that, like PR firms or publicists? Do you hold them in high regards?
I do. I do. I do. And that's something I had to learn. It'll be difficult to let somebody know how important it is without actually going through it. But the number one word that comes to my mind off the bat is credibility. And I learned this just from Instagram just by itself, plain and simple. When you have a Instagram page, a lot of people will, and it really goes for a lot of real life. They'll look for any reason to shut you down or not follow you. They may like your page, but if you don't have enough followers that in their head that they like that deems you worthy, they won't follow you. They'll look for any reason to discredit you. But in this case, when you get a part of a PR firm and it works, they do a really good job of just bringing out your story and like really good reviews and having that publicity. It gives you credibility, especially when it's through a good, well-known, respected site or blog or a person who's writing about you. Just having that credibility really paints a picture in your fans, and not even your fans, but when they look you up as an artist, they see A-list. They're going to see this person wrote about this about me. This site says this. So whether you like me or not, it or if you have a just complete neutral view of me when you read some of these PR statements and campaigns and reviews and sites and whatnot, you're gonna at least start to just subconsciously paint a picture and shift a certain idea from what you're reading because that's just human nature.
All right. And so, how important is it for you and what would you tell any other independent artists? How important is it to have a national press release when you're putting a new project out?
You know, it's important. You got to really reach the most broad amount of people you can. I mean, that's why we do this thing. We don't just put out a project to reach a small crowd. You want to
Hmm.
get most, the biggest hit spread out and information spread out as you possibly can because you never know what area and what spot is really going to hit. Maybe you think it's going to be in your city, maybe you think it's going to be in the South, but who knows? It could be in Washington, it could be in Seattle, it could be in, I don't know, Minnesota. So having that national spread, it just takes one kind of little spot to of loyal fans, and that is a big part of what makes an artist grow because it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But without kind of like shooting darts or shooting targets, if you just kind of stick to one little spot, you're gonna miss the rest of the potential spaces out there.
Okay. Okay. And so, with you as an artist, what single do you have out now that's charting that's getting constant radio rotation and that may be charting the billboards real soon?
Yes, yes, yes. So it is Gleaming, first of all. I got to start with that. That one, it was a great, I won't say intro single because we had stuff before, but that was a great jump start to having radio play. That was played on High 97. Shout out to DJ Enough for playing it. Also, shout out to Oscar for making that happen. And also, shout out to Rich Travali. He is a very well known, respected sound engineer. He made that whole thing come together. Oscar and I, we gave him the the piece and the instrumentals and vocals, and he just mixed it together. And there's a reason why he's as respected as he is, and I'm glad to be a part of his catalog. But Gleeman is on BET's rotation and played on High 97 here in New York City. And then also my newest single out is called Battles. That's another one that Oscar and I did and produced and sound engineered by Rich Chevali. That is one that is it's a it's a great mix between pop and hip hop. It's a story about really going through battles, snakes in the grass, how to rattle. I had a tough past, but what I had though was battles. So talking about, I'm thankful for the battles that I've had because without me going through all the things that I've been through, I wouldn't have known that I was strong enough to get through certain things. And the only reason why I'm here today is because of the battles. So it's easy to not want any sort of resistance in life and not want any sort of trouble. You want things just to be clean blue, ocean clean, just a smooth pathway. But maybe it's the battles that really help shape us and make us appreciate the good times and happy times that we go through. Without it, maybe we'd be different.
Right, right, right. So now the music industry can be very treacherous. It can be very rough. It can dismantle your emotional presence, your spiritual growth,
So
your mental health. So how important is mental health while you're navigating through the music industry? How important is that to you?
it's super important. It's something I actually keep in mind every single day. I have my goals, and I have the people who believe in me. I have the people who want to see me win. So doing it for people like that, I think is the healthiest way. If I go into it hoping that everybody likes me, it's just not realistic. It's not possible. I realized that. Let's say I was just a saint, uh, and I did no wrong. No matter really what I do in my life, there's always going to be somebody or some people out there to say I'm not this, I'm not that, and make up things, or just to throw shade, dirt, negativity on my name, just because that's really how the world works. So going into that, being tunnel vision, and going into
Right,
it, blocking out the outside noise, that's super important for me just to keep in mind and to really, on a genuine level, have belief in myself and not care, almost good or bad, what the outside thinks of me, unless it's my team and they have my best interests. But to really block that out because that could do nothing. If I do it for an opinion or for someone to like me, then I'm not doing it for the right reasons, and that's just to be the
right,
best.
right, right, right. Of course, of course, of course. So what are some things that you want to do in the community um, that really get messages across to the community from the impact of your music and from the impact of you as a recording artist?
Biggest thing for me that comes to mind is never giving up, but follow your dreams. And for me, that goes past whether you want to be a recording artist. I don't care if you want to be a baker, make pizzas. It doesn't really matter the specific dream. But if you have that in mind, if you know that's what you want to do, then you owe it to yourself to do that. So I would want to know or set an example for my community that if you have a dream, if you believe in it, you just never know what can happen. But at the same time, even if, let's say, nothing crazy does happen, but that means something to you. If you're going out and painting um, portraits because you know that's your gift, then you're doing really yourself a favor because life is way too short not to do the things that you know you're gifted at and the gifts that God gave you. You know, He gave it to you for a reason to share your gifts. So it means something when you actually put forth action in the things that you believe in and go for your dreams and whatever that is for you individually.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So with that being said, what's next for you? As far as are you willing to get into acting, modeling, different forms of entertainment, voiceovers? Like, what's next for you?
Yes, sir. Everything, everything. Right away, first thing that comes to mind is booking shows. I've been doing that around the city, in Philly recently, but doing that on a more consistent basis, just to have people see, not just hear about music, but to see, feel my energy out there, to see what kind of heart and soul I put out into my performances, to know I really take this serious. That when you don't see me, I'm in my room practicing my lyrics. I'm practicing my endurance from when I'm running around, pretending I'm running around on stage and being able to say my lyrics still normally. I'm not getting out of breath. Take it that serious into an art that when I do perform, no matter where I go, I could be on the same set as, say, Drake. That then I'll be able to hold my own because I've been training for this moment. Not that I'm waiting to get lucky, but I'm waiting to prove myself when the opportunity comes that I'm ready for it. So live shows, but of course getting into acting as much as I can, modeling, really just the whole package, the whole image of what an artist is.
Right. So you're a singer that follow all types of music, right?
Yes, sir.
So what do you feel about country music?
Well, I think originally that was black music at first. I think a lot of people forget that was something that we came up with originally. I mean, really, most music came from black people in a lot of
Uh-huh.
ways. Whether doesn't matter who's maybe dominating it today. I think that I think more of us should know that and I say appreciate it. And I think we should get a bit more into it. I think it's really funny you mentioned that. My cousin, who's from Kentucky originally, and he's from Kentucky, and he's actually a country artist now. His name is Freddie P. Just released a song. Um, this is my country style, and that's very different. I don't know really any other black true country musicians that are doing that. And though people may think whatever about it, that is very original. That is country. That is really um, music at its full form. That's how things got
Yeah.
created. And though
Yeah.
things maybe got twisted, things change, but that's still
Mhm.
us from our origin.
Right, right, right. It is, it is. And I think that more of singers should be versatile and break through and enter the country scene, because it's needed. And people who listen to country music spend money.
Sure
They
do.
don't play around. They spend money, bro. They spend money. And then if you look at the labels into country music,
uh,
the label has designed it. If they sign a country artist, they design it so the country artists don't fail. You don't never hear about a country artist going broke. You never hear that.
never, never. Very good
You
point.
know what I'm saying? So therefore, the label owners who own the country music labels are doing something right. It's
Uh,
some proof. It's some proof in the pudding, man, that they have a recipe that's been winning for years. And so I feel like if you're a label head, then you must study the country music scene. You must study the promoters, the labels, the marketing execs, the country music PRs. You got to study their format because they have a winning recipe. You know what I mean? And so I just wanted to see would there be something that you'll be interested in doing one day, or is there because I think that versatility is something that we're missing right now. You know what I mean? So if it's a versatile artist who can do country, pop, jazz, blues, southern soul, R&B, gospel, like I mean, there's no way they can lose.
Absolutely, no way, no way, and that is absolutely a goal of mine. There's actually a couple. I just say I train myself, so when I hear certain country beats of country music, I try to put myself into that song because there are a couple country songs that I like. Generally, I listen to Sam Hunt, of course. There's like Luke Bryan, like Lucas Graham. There's a lot of country artists that because it's a lot more similar to I don't want to say it pop or hip hop than what people think, but it's not very far off from what music is. A lot of
Yeah,
people the way on the outside, but it's still a lot of similarities. It's still music.
yeah, and it's great music and it's selling. So
It sure is.
anytime, anytime it's still selling, then it's doing something right. So
Right, right. And it's
um,
ways to do country music too, and a lot of people try to bring it into the stereotypical way of what they hear and maybe a real Southern accent. But there are plenty of ways to make country music, not just one type.
Right. So, what do you think about the Southern Soul era?
Southern soul. Man, that's tough because I don't see too much of that these days. There used to be quite a few.
It's a
Uh,
lot now, man. You just in maybe not in New York, but
okay,
oh yeah, bro.
fair enough, fair enough.
Southern Soul is huge, and most Southern Soul artists that's out there that's on the radio, they getting shows like 3, 4, 5 shows booked a week.
Uh,
Yeah, they eating, bro. Like Tucker, Ronnie Bell, Wendell B,
Rick Ham
Pokey
Brown.
Bear, Sir Charles,
Okay,
Kevin Richardson. He's a part of Southern Soul now.
okay,
You know, yeah. So they definitely eating, bro.
okay,
And it's definitely something that you should look in.
okay,
So when you get time, man, just go on YouTube and just type in Southern Soul artists, and you'll see them come up.
okay.
Yeah. So they definitely eating, man. So
Yeah.
but man, so with you being a multi-talented artist, man, and you working with Oscar, man, are there are there any are there any places that you want to perform? So will I see you next year at the Coachella?
Yeah, yes, sir. That is a plan. Let's speak that right now. I like that. Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
are we gonna see you at Radio City Music Hall?
yes, sir. My goal is, and I'm even dreaming bigger. Well, what I've seen certain artists sell out football stadiums, and there's another video where DMX looks like he sold out a whole continent, a whole country.
Yeah, yeah,
That's how
yeah. When you
far
was overseas,
that
I seen that video when you was overseas. Yeah,
stuff. I mean, that is special to me. When I see that, that gives me chills, and that's when every single time I see something like that's what I want. And it would mean so much to me being able to be in front of a huge crowd and know my songs because that's how much I put into it. And most importantly, I know that there's a good chance that they feel the way I feel about that song because it's about the feeling that you give to your fans, not about just the lyrics, the words. It's definitely about the emotion that you give them. And if they can feel the intent of what I attempted to do in the song, then that means a ton.
okay.
Madison Square Garden, Staples Center, well, it's not called Staples Center now, but it's crypto.com, something like
Right,
that. Like it's
right.
I mean, the biggest places, there's places out in London that have like a Coliseum. I've dreamed
Right,
of all things being able to do this on a really big scale.
right. Okay. So, man, I gotta ask you something, man. I gotta include the ladies in. So, uh, you know, as far as love ballads
Okay.
for the ladies, you got something in the pot story, and you got something coming because you got to keep them involved. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Because we already know that women buy records. They buy the most records.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually a big inspiration in my music when probably my best songs have been about a girl in particular. And so there's a song called The Colder It Gets, and that is from start 0 seconds to about 3:32. That is basically me telling you a story. The hook of it is the colder it gets, my heart stops beating, and I don't even want to think about you. And that going through certain situations, I want to say is it can be tough to deal with on a relationship level when you're going through something with somebody, but I like the way I can take that and really put it into my music. And it's not just a song, it's something very, very real. Whenever I hear it or I sing it, puts me back into that place. So dealing with the different ladies that I've had in my life has never been a waste. It's always been something I can talk about in my songs. And it changes so often, that's how life is.
I can dig it. I can dig it. So, for those who want to get in contact with you and maybe some artists want to do a feature and maybe they just want to go check you out, listen to your music. Where can they find you at, and where can they go cop their music at?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely, I'm most active on Instagram. So check me out. A-list artist. That is ALYST artist ARTIST. As well as Spotify and really all music platforms. Spotify, Apple, Tidal, you name it. A-list. So just A-list. ALYST. And if you ever just want to hit me, ask me a question, features, most definitely hit. I can hit Oscar on Fluent
Right.
Records at uh, I think it's gmail.com. But I'll send that in there. But definitely hit me on my Instagram first, and we all hit that. Of course, booking shows, hit me on my Instagram, and I'll get you in touch with Oscar so he can help work out all those details. But definitely Instagram is the best. I'll probably get there, respond to you the quickest.
Okay, definitely, man. So I just want to thank you once again for coming on to the Chatterbox, kicking it with me, man, and just sharing your journey with me, man. And like I said, man, I hope to see you at the Coachella.
Hey,
Backstage,
King.
backstage with BJ. So just kicking it. So
Yes,
I hope to see you perform at all these arenas overseas, um, Radio City Music Hall, like all the above, man. So, but I just want to thank you for coming on, and shout out to you for keeping your craft alive and keep doing what you're doing. And shout out to Oscar, man, for definitely, putting some gas in that engine to keep the wheels turning. You know what I mean?
definitely nothing
Yeah,
less.
yeah.
Jacob, I really appreciate you having me on the show. I mean, I'm a big fan of what you've been doing. I saw the interview with you and Oscar, and I only need to see is one clip, and it just hit me so powerful. You all just talking about this life and what it takes just to really keep things going, really how music comes in, and so now really, this was more than just an interview and podcast for me, just going through these different questions of challenging me and some things that I didn't even think about. And I thank you, man. This has been really, really great, and I'm looking forward to just being in touch with you and you seeing me do the things we talked about. Most definitely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll definitely link, man. I
Sure.
got Oscar mad, so we'll link. We'll have a conversation, and most important, man, stay safe, be blessed, and most of all, man, never stop believing in yourself, because you are worth it all. Peace out, my brother.
All right, now, peace.